we need to separate fanaticism of politics and these issues of tax.
It's very clear. You must defend widows and orphans. Kweli ama si kweli? Mama ngina si ni widow. Kwa nini mnamtafuta? Kwa nini? Muachane na hiyo ya historia ya Jomo Kenyatta na mama, hatutaki kusikia.
In my previous conversation, we said that it is important for Kenyans to understand how the Kenyattas, the Mois, came to be exempted from some taxes. And when we talk about tax, we have what is called tax avoidance, which is legal, and we have tax evasion, which is illegal.
Yoyote ya kusungumuza bila maendeleo yoyote haina maana. Nasikia mengine inasemwa ati wengine hawatoi kodi, hawatoi nini. Na saga kwa sababu kila mtu anazungumza na uwewamuka anasema hii na mwingine anamuka anasema hii, lakini serikali iko na laini yake ya vile mambo inaendeshwa. Mambo ya kodi, income tax ni lazima mkubwa au mdogo kulipa kulingana na uwezo wake na mapato yake. Hiyo si kazi ya kuzungumza katika kwa magazeti, kwa mikutano, kwa TV. Kwa sababu ukikosa kulipa kodi unapelekwa kotini, kwa sababu hiyo ndio sheria. Ukikosa kulipa ili unatakiwa kulipa, lazima hiyo vitu yako itashughuliwa, itauzwa.
But if we're touching the Kenyattas and how they came to be, what really happened with the exemption of these taxes? And in our previous conversation, we were asking who exempted them and why. So today, I tried a discussion with a friend of mine, a lawyer. We were looking at the issue like how it came about for the Kenyattas and the Mois to have some tax exemption. And looking into the reality of the issue, actually they were very much, this whole issue was in the Estate Duty Act, not in the Constitution, a clarification. And I need to say this, we all know that Kenya was colonized by the Britain, okay? And since we were colonized by the Britain, it follows that we adopted the Constitution from England. And because the documents, whether it is acts of parliament or it is the Constitution, by the mere fact that we were colonized by the British, we automatically we adopted their acts and so forth. And a part of the acts in England, it was clear that the Queen was not supposed to pay those taxes. And therefore, since we don't have kings and the queens here in Kenya, it outright fell to the president that they were exempted from paying that tax. So by whichever way we look at it, it was very much legal. But what I think right now should be done, it is to rectify those errors, to rectify those wrongs, because I don't see why anyone should not pay tax. But again, the president, Ruto, should not go out there popularizing the whole idea so that the Kenyattas and the Mois look like they are bad people or really said we are not going to pay tax. They have been paying tax on other areas. But this one area, they were exempted. Legally, it was legal, okay? There was an act of parliament, all right? So, if we have anyone we should blame, it should be actually the parliament, the act of parliament that accepted this document to go as it was. And the only thing we can do as at now, it is to amend, you know? It is to amend that act. But there is no way we can begin to say, we cannot say that it was a tax evasion, all right? It was not tax evasion, all right? It was very much legal. We adopted the Constitution because we were colonized by the Britain, and therefore, since England uses such a Constitution, and the Queen of England was exempted from paying such duties, it fell upon our leader, who was the Kenyatta, and then after that, Moi. outright because we are using the Constitution of England and we are using the acts we borrowed much from England. So we were borrowing our Constitution and the acts from England. I don't even think we can blame much to the members of parliament who passed this document. Why? Because they adopted our constitution, a constitution from England, and some of the acts they were passing that time, they were referring to England. Before, we never used to have a government. Now we have a government in place, and we have been colonized by the Britain. And the only way we knew how to do this form of thing is to look in their constitution, how they run things. So even the members of parliament at that time, they were influenced by England because that was like the reference point. We can begin to correct, but we cannot go back and say, now because that time you did not pay that tax, now you have to pay it today. It is not okay, because the law that applied, or the act that applied at that time, it was that law, it was that act. But right now, if there is a new law or act in play, we have to go by that new law or that new act in play. So I think what we need to do as at today, as at now, it is to rectify the acts that we have in the parliament. The parliament and the Senate, they can rectify the wrong acts that we have, and we are becoming better and better. It matters of understanding how to run this thing, right? The system that we're using today, the systems that we have today of leadership, of governance, of parliament, from parliament to the executive to the judiciary, these are systems we borrowed from foreign lands, and therefore we are still learning about these things. We are still educating ourselves, and we are still looking forward to better days when we will be really fully actualized. But as at now, we are still learning, we are still implementing. And I must say this, I know I've heard Gachagua tarnish Raila and also tarnish Jaramogi, Raila's father, saying that it was the one who disturbed Kenyatta and so forth. I don't know if Gachagua knows. Actually, if it was not, I don't know if he knows the role that Jaramogi played for Kenyatta to be released, because he didn't believe we could have Uhuru, we could have all these independence and everything when Kenyatta was still in jail. And therefore, we need to go back in history and look at what happened, and even what Raila's father was fighting for. It was justice and equity, including even for the Mau people. It was equity, it was multipartyism. So that you cannot just start saying now, because these two have been in tug of war with the government, they are evil people. They have done a lot of sacrifices for this country. Chagwa has never been jailed for 6 years like Raila did. So sometimes you need to have respect. Of course, I respect you, you are the vice president, but I also expect you to respect your elders, the people who have run, who have become forerunners before you, so that you can even enjoy that seat under which today you are operating. There are people who have done a lot of sacrifices for this country, and not overlook that. There are people who have done tremendous contribution for this country. As much as people may like or hate Raila, he has done tremendous contribution. And so is everyone else who has been. There are parliamentarists who have passed very good acts. There have been chief justices who have done a tremendous work. We have had Mutunga, we have had Maraga, now we have Koome. We may agree on this and disagree on that, but the fact is, there is room to improve. There is room to improve. Yeah, that's my take. Thank you for watching. Please do subscribe. I'm Jimmy Nix, your communication strategist. Till next time.